All right, so today we're going to take a deep dive into Kross Ltd.
Okay.
You might not have heard of them, but
Yeah.
you've probably ridden in a vehicle that uses their products.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so they make automotive components.
Okay.
We're looking at their Q2 FY25 financials.
All right.
Fresh off the press, we have their investor presentation, full financial report.
Lots of numbers.
Yeah, so get ready. We're going to crunch some numbers today.
What I find really fascinating about this deep dive is that Kross Ltd, they just had their IPO,
Oh, yeah.
and they have a really ambitious, aggressive growth strategy.
Right.
So we're going to see if the financials actually back that up.
Yeah, let's jump right in. First thing that jumps out at me is that year-over-year revenue is down just slightly.
Okay.
So you might be thinking, uh-oh, is this a red flag?
Right.
Not necessarily, because their trailer axles and suspension segment grew by 7%,
Wow.
which is pretty healthy, so...
Yeah, that's got to count for something.
It does.
So if we look at what Kross Ltd is saying, they're attributing the slight dip to a couple things.
What?
One, the monsoon season,
Oh,
which makes sense given the nature of their business.
yeah.
Two, the demand was a little bit lower than they anticipated in certain segments.
Okay, that makes sense. But here's where I get a little confused.
Yeah.
Their EBITDA and PAT margins actually improved, even though revenue dipped.
Interesting.
So for anyone who might not know,
Yeah.
EBITDA is earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization.
Right.
It's basically like a snapshot of the company's overall performance.
Okay.
And then PAT, that's profit after tax. So that's the bottom line, how much profit they're actually keeping.
Makes sense.
So how is that possible? How are the margins going up if revenue's down? What's going on there?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it really highlights Kross Ltd's, really good cost management.
Okay.
And one of the big things they're doing is this backward integration strategy,
Okay.
which we're seeing with a lot of companies.
Sure.
They're trying to bring more of their production in-house,
Okay.
which gives them, tighter control over the process.
Makes sense.
And that leads to cost savings.
So they're kind of being their own supplier for some of their components.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which seems risky, but I guess if they can pull it off, then it really pays off.
It's a big gamble, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
But it could really pay off.
Okay. Well, speaking of big moves, let's talk about their international expansion.
Okay.
Their export revenue grew 8 times year over year.
Wow. 8 times.
Yeah, that's not even growth. That's like an explosion.
Yeah.
So they've been saying that they want to, really expand globally.
Right.
And this seems like they're putting their money where their mouth is.
Yeah, for sure.
What's driving that?
So they've made a couple of strategic partnerships, which is smart when you're entering new territories.
Okay.
So recently they've partnered with a company in Sweden to enter the European market,
Okay.
and they're working with a Japanese OEM, an original equipment manufacturer,
Yeah.
which could really open doors to the Asian market.
So they're not just, putting a toe in. They're like diving right in.
Yeah, they're going all in.
And they've onboarded 83 new customers in the past year.
Wow.
83, that's a lot of new relationships.
It is, yeah. So, it seems like, they're not kidding around.
No.
But they seem to be confident that they can handle it. So if we look at what they're saying in their investor presentation,
Yeah.
they're highlighting their sales and marketing team.
Right.
And they have a really wide network of dealers.
Okay.
So they're putting resources behind this. They're really serious about it.
Okay. Let's move on to the cash flow statement.
Right.
One thing that jumped out at me was they used a significant portion of the proceeds from their IPO
Okay.
to pay down debt.
That's smart.
It is. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, let's shore up our finances.
Strengthen the
Yeah.
foundation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that's not all they're doing. They're also investing a lot in property, plant, and equipment.
PP&E.
Yeah. Specifically, they acquired this massive 2,000-ton forging screw press,
Wow.
and they're starting to build an axle beam extrusion plant.
Okay.
So that's a lot of investment.
It is. And, it goes back to that vertical integration strategy that we were talking about.
Right.
So it seems like they're really trying to, have even more control over the whole process
Yeah.
of, from raw materials to a finished product.
So they're building their own little manufacturing fortress.
Exactly. Yeah.
But that's got to come with some risks, right? Like, what if the market changes or technology changes faster than they expect?
Yeah. There's always risks with these kinds of, big investments.
Of course.
But it seems like they're also trying to kind of mitigate that
Okay.
by diversifying their product portfolio.
Okay.
So, for example, they launched a new line of 18-ton axles
Okay.
and they're only the second company in India to offer that.
Wow.
So it's kind of a two-pronged approach. They're trying to vertically integrate
Right.
and also offer a wider range of products.
Makes sense.
So it's getting interesting. What's standing out to you so far? What's piqued your curiosity?
Hmm. Well, honestly, it's that 8 times export growth.
Yeah.
That just blows me away.
It is pretty incredible.
Like they just flipped a switch and suddenly they're, a global player.
Yeah.
What does that even mean for, the average person? Could that actually affect prices and availability of components even in my local market?
That's a really good question. And you know what? It kind of highlights this ripple effect of globalization.
Yeah.
Because as companies like Kross Ltd expand their reach, it can definitely influence the dynamics of the global supply chain.
Right.
So yeah, increased competition could lead to more competitive pricing, potentially even greater availability of components.
So it's not just like, these abstract numbers in a report. It could actually have an impact on, the cars that we drive, prices we pay.
Yeah, it could have real-world consequences.
Yeah, wow, that's something to think about. But expanding globally can't be easy.
No, for sure.
What are some of the hurdles that they might face as they venture into these new markets?
Well, I mean, navigating different regulations in each country is a big one.
Right.
Every country has their own rules, their own standards.
Yeah.
So Kross Ltd will need to make sure they're complying with all of those.
Okay.
And then there's just the challenge of building relationships with new customers, new suppliers.
Right.
In these unfamiliar markets, it's a whole new ballgame.
Yeah, and you can't forget about currency fluctuations and geopolitical risks.
Oh, yeah, all of that.
So that just adds another layer of complexity to their business.
For sure.
But it seems like they're being pretty smart about it. They're forming these strategic partnerships
Right.
to kind of ease their way in.
Exactly.
Speaking of partnerships, they've got these, long-standing relationships with major OEMs here in India.
Right.
That's got to be a huge asset, right?
Absolutely. Those relationships are so valuable. They provide stability, predictability in their revenue.
Okay.
I mean, they've been working with some of these clients for decades.
Wow.
They've built up that trust, a solid track record that's really important in this industry.
It's like they have a built-in customer base.
Yeah, pretty much.
But they're not just, sitting back and relaxing. They're still actively trying to diversify their client base.
Right.
Remember, 83 new customers.
Yeah, it's impressive.
It is. It's like they're spreading the risk, so they're not overly reliant on any one customer.
Theoretically. Yeah.
But wouldn't that be so hard to manage? Like all those new relationships on top of the ones they already have?
It definitely requires a coordinated effort, for
Yeah,
sure.
right.
But, their investor presentation emphasizes the experience and the stability of their leadership team,
Okay.
which is crucial for this kind of growth.
Yeah.
And they have a dedicated sales and marketing team, like 70 people.
Oh, wow.
So they're investing in the infrastructure to manage all these relationships.
So they're being smart about it.
Yeah, it's not just like throwing people at the problem. They're being strategic.
Yeah, but strong relationships, that's just one part of the equation.
Right.
They're also investing heavily in technology, like design and simulation software.
Oh, yeah.
They even have a whole team dedicated to new product development.
Okay.
Why is that such a priority for them?
Well, the automotive industry is changing so fast.
It is.
Electric vehicles, autonomous driving, connected cars, it's a lot.
It's a whole new world.
Yeah, and Kross Ltd understands that to stay competitive, they need to be at the forefront of all that.
Right, they got to stay ahead of the curve.
Exactly, yeah. They're trying to future-proof their business.
Okay, but technology, that doesn't come cheap.
No, for sure.
How are they funding these investments while also paying down debt and expand into new markets? That's a lot to juggle.
It is, but it goes back to their strong financial foundation.
Okay.
Remember we talked about that, the improvement in their debt-equity ratio.
Right.
By reducing their debt, they've freed up resources to invest in all of these things.
So it's like a balancing act.
It is, for sure.
They're making these strategic decisions about where to allocate their money.
Yeah, they're playing chess, not checkers.
Right, exactly.
Thinking several moves ahead.
Yeah, but it's not just about the numbers, right? There's a human element here, too.
Of course.
And their investor presentation actually highlights their commitment to employee training and development.
That's great.
Yeah, so why is that such a focus for them?
Well, in today's world, things are changing so quickly. You need a skilled workforce, a workforce that can adapt.
Right.
So by investing in their employees, they're making sure they have the knowledge and the expertise to deal with all these challenges.
It's like they're building a team of super problem solvers.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, let's shift gears for a second and talk about their manufacturing processes.
Okay.
Are they, like, doing anything to make their operations more sustainable?
That's a good question. And it seems like they are, they're not ignoring their responsibility to the environment.
Okay.
So they've implemented several initiatives to reduce their footprint,
Like what?
investing in energy efficient equipment, minimizing waste,
Mhm.
and they're even exploring using more sustainable materials in their manufacturing.
So they're not just focused on profit, they're trying to be, responsible.
Yeah, they're taking a holistic approach.
Okay, but let's be real, sustainability can be expensive.
Oh, for sure.
And sometimes those costs get passed on to the consumer.
Right.
So how is Kross Ltd balancing these, like, competing priorities?
It's tough balance, right? Balancing profit with environmental responsibility.
Yeah.
So it seems like they're trying to find that sweet spot,
Oh.
gradually implementing sustainable practices, but without making themselves less competitive.
Right.
They're also highlighting their commitment to sustainability in their marketing,
Oh, smart.
trying to appeal to those consumers who are looking for eco-friendly products.
Yeah, make it a selling point.
Exactly.
Okay, their investor presentation also mentions their commitment to corporate social responsibility, or CSR.
Yes, CSR.
So what does that actually look like? Are they just checking boxes, or are they actually trying to give back to the community?
It seems like they're taking a pretty comprehensive approach,
Okay.
focusing on things like education, healthcare, and community development.
Oh, wow.
They've partnered with local NGOs to support different initiatives.
Okay.
They encourage their employees to volunteer,
That's good.
and they're even trying to empower women in the workforce through various programs.
So it's nice to see a company that's not just thinking about, themselves, but also trying to make a positive impact.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, let's get back to the numbers for a minute.
Okay.
Their order pipeline for the second half of FY25, it looks really strong.
It does, yeah.
So what's driving that? And is it sustainable in the long run?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
It seems like their growth strategy, combined with their investments in technology and product diversification, it's paying off. They're entering new markets, attracting new customers at a really fast pace.
But is it just hype? Or is there something more substantial behind this growth?
Well, I mean, one of the big factors is the increasing demand for commercial vehicles in emerging markets.
Great.
Like India is seeing a lot of economic growth.
All right.
And that means more demand for transportation, for logistics.
So they're kind of riding this wave of economic growth.
Exactly.
But, economic conditions can change.
Of course.
What are some of the risks or challenges that could, derail their plans?
Yeah, there are always risks. I mean, the global economic outlook, it's uncertain.
Right.
Any slowdown could impact demand.
Okay, so economic headwinds.
Yeah.
What about competition? Are there other companies out there that could threaten Kross Ltd?
Oh, yeah. The automotive components industry is very competitive, both domestically and internationally.
Right.
So Kross Ltd, they need to constantly innovate. They got to stay ahead of the curve.
It's like a race.
It is, for sure.
Okay, so as we wrap up this part of our deep dive into Kross Ltd, what's your overall assessment?
Well, it's tough to say definitively because there are always unknowns in business.
Right.
But based on what we've seen so far, they seem to be doing a lot of things right.
Okay.
They're financially sound, they've got a good strategy, and they're committed to innovation and sustainability.
So checking all the boxes.
It seems like it, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm still curious. They've achieved this amazing growth in a short period of time.
Right.
Is it sustainable? Or are they setting themselves up for a fall?
That's a good question, and I think it's something that investors and analysts will be watching very closely.
Yeah.
It's really important for them to maintain that balance between growth and stability.
Right, they don't want to grow too fast.
Exactly. They don't want to overextend themselves.
Yeah, it's like walking a tightrope.
It is, for sure.
But sometimes you need to take risks to get big rewards, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what do you think? Is Kross Ltd a company worth keeping an eye on? Could they be like the next big thing in the automotive world? And why should our listeners care about all of this?
That's the key question, right? Why should anyone listening care about Kross Ltd?
Yeah.
Well, here's why I think it matters. Kross Ltd is kind of a microcosm of the bigger trends that are shaping the Indian manufacturing sector.
Okay.
They're showing how Indian companies can compete globally. They're challenging the established players. They're disrupting things.
Like they're proving that made in India can mean quality, innovation, financial strength.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Their success is a good sign for India's growing economic power.
Right.
and its potential to become a major player in the global automotive market.
So it's not just about this one company, it's about the rise of a new economic powerhouse.
Yeah, and that has implications for everyone.
Right, for sure.
The cars we drive, the jobs that are created, even the global economy as a whole.
Okay, so what's the takeaway for our listeners? What can they learn from this?
Well, I think Kross Ltd's story is a good reminder that even in a tough, constantly changing industry, strategic vision, disciplined execution, and a commitment to innovation can lead to amazing success.
They didn't follow conventional wisdom.
No,
They showed that a company from an emerging market can really shake things up.
absolutely. And they set new standards for quality, for sustainability, for financial performance.
But their journey is not over.
No, not at all.
The automotive landscape is changing all the time.
Right.
And Kross Ltd's ability to adapt, to keep innovating, that's what will determine their future.
Yeah, that's the beauty of the business world. It's always changing. You got to adapt.
Yeah, and it seems like Kross Ltd is embracing that challenge.
Oh, for sure. They're not shying away from it.
And their story is just beginning.
It is, which is what makes it so exciting.
Exactly. We've just scratched the surface here today.
Yeah, this deep dive is just the starting point.
Exactly. We encourage everyone to keep exploring, dig deeper into their financial statements, check out their investor presentations, their company website.
Yeah, there's so much more to discover.
And who knows what other fascinating insights you might find.
Exactly. Keep asking questions, challenge your own assumptions.
Yeah.
And maybe you'll be the one to predict what's next for Kross Ltd.
That's a great point. But before we wrap up completely, let's leave our listeners with a thought-provoking question.
Okay.
With their, ambitious growth plans and their focus on cutting-edge technology, could Kross Ltd actually become a major player in the global market? Like, could they be the next Toyota, the next Volkswagen?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
Only time will tell.
Yeah.
But one thing's for sure, Kross Ltd is definitely a company worth watching.
Absolutely.
They're making waves, they're pushing boundaries, they're redefining what's possible.
So stay tuned.
Yeah, this story is far from over.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.
Keep diving deep.
Yeah. Honestly, it's that 8 times export growth. Like, wow, blows my mind.
It's huge.
They just flipped a switch, and now they're a global player.
It seems like it happened overnight.
What does that mean for me, for the average person? Like, will it change how much I pay for car parts?
That's a great question, and it really shows how globalization works.
Okay.
So as companies like Kross expand, it changes the whole supply chain.
Makes sense.
More competition usually means better prices, maybe even more parts available.
So this isn't just some, financial report thing. It actually affects me.
Exactly. Real-world impact.
Wow. That's pretty cool. But going global can't be easy.
No, definitely not.
What kind of roadblocks will they hit?
Oh, tons of stuff. Different rules in every country.
Right.
Kross has to figure out how to follow all those rules.
Okay.
Plus, building relationships with new customers and suppliers.
All in a new play.
Exactly. It's a whole different game.
And then there's currency exchange rates and political stuff. Oh, my gosh.
It all adds up.
Makes it so much more complicated.
For sure.
But at least they're doing it strategically, right? With those partnerships.
Right. Those partnerships are key.
And speaking of partnerships, they've got those long-term ones here in India.
With the OEMs.
Yeah, that's got to be a big advantage.
Absolutely. Those are super valuable. It means steady income.
Right.
They've been working together for decades, some of them.
Wow, that's a long time.
Builds a lot of trust, and that's huge in this business.
Like having guaranteed customers.
Pretty much.
But they're not just stopping there, they're getting even more customers, right?
Right, got to diversify.
83 new ones, that's a lot to handle.
It is. Takes a lot of effort to manage all that.
For sure.
But their investor presentation talks about how experienced their leaders are.
Okay.
That's really important for growing like this.
Makes sense.
Plus, they have a big sales and marketing team, 70 people.
Wow, that's a whole department.
It shows they're serious about managing those relationships.
Not just winging it.
Nope, strategic all the way.
Okay, good. But relationships aren't everything, right? There's technology, too.
Oh, yeah. Can't forget about that.
They're spending a lot on software design and simulation stuff.
Right.
And they've got that whole team working on new products.
That's smart.
Why is that so important for them?
Well, the car industry changes so fast these days.
It does.
Electric cars, self-driving cars, everything's connected now. It's a lot to keep up with.
Yeah, like a whole different world.
Exactly. Kross knows they gotta be on top of all that to stay in the game.
Stay ahead of the game.
Right. They're trying to make sure they're ready for the future.
Future-proofing.
Exactly.
But all that tech is expensive.
Oh, yeah.
How are they paying for all this and paying off debt and expanding?
It's a lot, but remember how they improved their debt ratio?
Right.
Less debt means more money to invest.
So it's all connected.
It is a balancing act, for sure.
They're picking and choosing where to spend their money.
Like a game of chess, thinking several moves ahead.
Exactly. But there's more to it than just money, right?
Oh, of course.
Their presentation talks about how they're training their employees.
That's awesome.
Yeah, why is that such a big deal for them?
Well, the world's changing fast, right?
It is.
You need employees who can keep up, solve problems.
Makes sense.
Investing in training means they have the knowledge to handle whatever comes next.
Like a team of super smart problem solvers.
Exactly.
Okay, let's talk about their manufacturing. Are they doing anything to be more eco-friendly?
Good question. And it seems like they are.
I know.
They're not ignoring the environment. They're doing things to reduce their impact.
Like what?
Getting energy-efficient equipment, making less waste,
Right?
even looking into sustainable materials.
So they're not just about profit. They care about being responsible.
Yeah, it's a more well-rounded approach.
Okay, but being eco-friendly can cost more.
Definitely.
And then sometimes that cost gets passed on to us, the buyers.
Happens all the time.
So how does Kross balance making money and being good to the environment?
Tough question, right? Profit versus responsibility.
Yeah.
Seems like they're finding a middle ground,
Okay.
slowly becoming more sustainable, but not so much that it hurts their business.
Got it.
Plus, they're talking about their eco-friendly efforts in their marketing,
Smart move.
trying to attract customers who care about that stuff.
Make it a selling point.
Exactly.
Okay, their presentation also mentions corporate social responsibility, CSR.
Yeah, doing good in the world.
Are they actually doing stuff or just saying they are?
Looks like they're taking it seriously,
Good.
focusing on education, healthcare, helping the community.
Wow, that's a lot.
They work with local groups, encourage employees to volunteer,
That's great.
even have programs to help women in the workforce.
It's good to see a company giving back, not just focused on themselves.
Agreed.
All right, back to the numbers for a sec.
Okay.
Their orders for the rest of the year look really good.
Yeah. Busy times ahead.
What's causing that, and can it last?
Good question.
Yeah.
Seems like their growth strategy, plus all the tech investments and new products, it's working.
Okay.
Finding new customers and markets fast.
But is it real or just hype? What makes it sustainable?
Well, there's a growing demand for commercial vehicles in places like India.
Right.
India's economy is booming.
Makes sense.
So they need more trucks, more transportation. That's good for Kross.
So they're riding that wave of growth.
Exactly.
But economies can change, right?
Yeah.
What could go wrong?
Oh, always risks. The global economy is shaky.
Right.
If things slow down, people buy less stuff. That hurts Kross.
Okay, economic problems. What about competition?
Oh, yeah, that car parts business is super competitive.
Yeah.
Everywhere, not just in India.
Right.
Kross has to keep innovating, stay ahead of everyone else.
It's like a constant race.
It is, for sure.
Okay, so wrapping up this part of our deep dive on Kross, what do you think? Good company.
Tough to say for sure. Business is unpredictable.
True.
But from what we see, they're doing a lot right.
Okay.
Financially solid, good strategy, committed to innovation and being responsible.
Checking all the boxes.
Looks like it.
But they've grown so fast, so quickly.
They have.
Is it too fast? Will it backfire?
Good question. Investors are definitely watching closely.
Yeah.
Finding that balance between growth and stability, that's key.
Right. Can't grow too fast.
Exactly. Got to be careful not to overreach.
Like walking a tightrope.
It is, for sure.
Well, you got to take risks sometimes, right?
Absolutely. No risk, no reward.
So what's your gut feeling? Is Kross a company to watch? Could they be the next big thing in cars? And why should our listeners care?
The big question, right? Why Kross matters.
Yeah.
I think it's because they show what's happening in Indian manufacturing.
Okay.
They're proving Indian companies can compete globally,
Right.
going up against the big guys, shaking things up.
Like saying, hey, made in India is good stuff.
Exactly. Quality, innovation, the whole package.
Yeah.
It's a good sign for India's economy.
Makes sense.
They could become a big player in the car world.
So it's not just about Kross, it's about India's rise.
And that affects everyone.
Yeah, for sure.
What cars we drive, what jobs exist, the whole global economy.
Wow, big picture stuff.
It is. So what's the lesson here for our listeners?
Yeah, what can they learn from Kross?
I think it's that even in a tough, changing industry,
Yeah.
you can succeed if you have a good plan, execute it well, and keep innovating.
Kross didn't follow the usual playbook.
Nope, they did their own thing.
Showed that a company from a rising market can change the game.
Absolutely. Set new standards for quality, responsibility, and financial success.
But their story's not over yet.
Not even close.
The car world keeps changing.
Always.
Kross has to adapt, keep inventing new stuff to survive.
That's the fun part. Always changing. Got to keep up.
Yeah, and it seems like Kross is ready for the challenge.
Oh, yeah. Bring it on.
But their story's just getting started.
Which is what makes it so exciting.
We've only just scratched the surface.
Yeah, think of this deep dive as a starting point.
Exactly. Keep digging into their financials, presentations, their website.
There's a whole world of information out there.
Who knows what else you'll discover?
Keep asking questions. Challenge your own ideas. Maybe you'll figure out what Kross will do next.
Good point. But before we let you go, a thought-provoking question.
Hit me.
With all their big plans, their focus on technology, could Kross really become a global leader? Like the next Toyota, Volkswagen, that level?
That's the million-dollar question.
It is.
Time will tell.
Yeah.
But Kross is definitely one to watch.
Absolutely.
They're shaking things up, redefining what's possible.
So stay tuned.
This story's just getting started.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.
Diving deep.
That's the question, right? Can they really take on the giants of the car world?
It's a David and Goliath situation, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But remember, David, he had some tricks up his sleeve, and Kross does too.
Okay.
They're quick, they're innovative, and they're not afraid to take risks.
Yeah, they're like the underdog that everyone's rooting for.
Exactly.
But let's be real, the global market is tough.
Oh, yeah.
What are the biggest things they'll have to deal with?
I think brand recognition is a huge one.
Okay.
The Toyota, Volkswagen, Ford, those names, everybody knows them. They mean quality Kross. They're not so well known yet, especially globally.
Yeah, it's like they're trying to break into a party where everyone already knows each other.
Exactly. They need to make a big splash.
And it's not just about being known. It's about having a good reputation.
Oh, for sure.
So how do they convince people that a company from India can deliver, top-notch quality?
That's where those partnerships are so important.
Right.
Teaming up with those big names like that Swedish company, the Japanese OEM.
They're kind of borrowing some of that good reputation.
Exactly. It's like saying, hey, if they trust us, you can too.
But that only goes so far, right? They have to prove themselves with good products.
Absolutely. Got to walk the walk.
Consistently exceeding expectations, building that track record.
Word of mouth is powerful. Happy customers are the best advertising.
It's a long game for sure.
It is.
But they're also in this industry that's changing so rapidly.
Constantly.
Electric cars, self-driving, connected cars. It's a whole new ballgame.
Yeah, the future is here.
How is Kross keeping up with all this tech stuff?
The billion-dollar question.
Right?
They've made some investments. We talked about the software, the product development team.
Yeah.
But is it enough? Are they moving fast enough?
It's like a marathon where the finish line keeps moving.
It is. You got to be agile, adapt quickly, always learning.
Can't fall behind.
No. The car industry is unforgiving. Innovate or die.
High stakes.
For sure.
And it's not just about tech. Sustainability is becoming more important too.
Absolutely. Consumers care about the environment, and investors do too.
So how's Kross doing on that front?
They've made some progress. Remember the eco-friendly initiatives?
Yeah.
But is it enough? Consumers are getting more demanding.
It's like they're trying to please a crowd that keeps getting bigger.
Exactly. Got to go beyond the basics, show a real commitment to sustainability.
Yeah, okay, but let's not forget the money.
Right. Got to pay the bills.
They've been growing like crazy. Can they keep that up without going broke?
That's where discipline comes in.
Okay.
Manage resources carefully, balance growth with profit, don't get ahead of themselves.
Walking that tightrope again.
It is. One wrong step can be costly.
But they've got a lot of good things going for them.
They do.
Solid finances, a good leadership team, a clear vision.
And they're not afraid to take risks, to challenge how things are done.
Yeah, they've got a good story. Be interesting to see what happens next.
Definitely.
So, as we wrap up this whole deep dive on Kross, what's the big takeaway?
I think it's that ambition. When you combine it with a good plan and a commitment to being better,
Okay.
it can really lead to amazing things.
They showed that a company from anywhere can make a real impact.
Absolutely. And that the business world is constantly changing.
Got to adapt or get left behind.
Exactly.
So keep an eye on Kross. Their journey's just getting started.
And it's going to be an interesting one.
It is. And remember, the best way to learn about business is to dive deep, ask questions, never stop exploring.
Keep that curiosity alive.
Until next time, keep diving deep.